Hey, today we're going to be diving into the Mountain Cup, a new meta for the first time in Go Battle League. And if you take a look at the rankings, there's a lot of common weaknesses. I mean, for crying out loud, Escavalier being number 1 is extremely weak to fire. So we're going to look to leverage that with none other than the double mountain itself, Camerupt. Now, in order to build a strong team around it, we're going to have the core of Quagsire and Camerupt. Very good cross coverages, and Quagsire, outside of being having hard losses to grass-type Pokemon, can do very well against this meta, and Frostlass as a safe swap is always deadly and can get ourselves shield advantage. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Quagsire on the lead versus Diggersby. So, a very nice neutral matchup for us, and what's beautiful about this situation, it may not be beautiful for you now if you are going to try running Camerupt, but for me, the opponent does not suspect a Camerupt in the back. So they're going to safely stay in. I can easily go for Earthquakes right here, and because we have a higher attack and that we both have Mudshot and Earthquake, I win CMP ties, which means I'm going to be forcing myself shield advantage or taking out the Diggersby early. Now, they're deciding to go for a Fire Punch right here, which is perfectly fine. Quagsire can easily tank that as it is a resisted move, and now we can go for Earthquake to get ourselves shield advantage, which is exactly what Camerupt needs in order to sweep this game. But they decide to let the Diggersby go down, so we're going to go ahead and counter swap right away into Frostlass. When we get ourselves switch advantage, but we win lead, and we have even shields, I want to save Quagsire as a potential sack swap later in the game. Boom! Down goes my Frostlass. I tried to call the Avalanche right there to make a big play. But what you guys are going to see right here is why Camerupt can be so deadly in this meta, because of its ability to destroy everything that doesn't hard counter it. So in this case, a Frostlass, and we do see a Credilli now swap in. So this is going to still be a dangerous situation, but we have an opportunity to still win this game. Frostlass won't be able to get to another charge move in time versus Incinerates, so we need to get this Credilli out of here with our charge moves. Now, we're going to be shielding this Grass Knot, and notice how I kept my Quagsire still alive. And watch, I'm going to stop attacking. Wait, swap. This is beautiful, as the Incinerate fast move is a 5-second turn move. It takes a long time to cycle through, which allows me to actually wait a second, let the Credilli get its fast move through that it would use to throw the charge move, and now I can go for back-to-back Earth powers right here, as it does do neutral damage against the Credilli. And then it's just going to be a race versus the Frostlass in the back, as we should be able to get 2 Incinerates off before they get to another Avalanche. That's going to be a good game. Alright, getting into the next battle, we have Quagsire on the lead versus Gliscor. So again, a really nice neutral matchup here for us, and again, a situation where we can get ourselves shield advantage. We have access to Stone Edge. We had Earthquake for the Diggersby, as you saw how much neutral damage it did, and in this situation, we have Stone Edge for the Gliscor, and it does get a shield. This is perfect. This is a beautiful setup for us, as we're going to look to go for another Stone Edge. We can safely let Quagsire go down and bring in Frostlass to take it out. But they decide to go for Night Slash, and they now instead decide to swap into the Diggersby, which is perfectly fine by me, because I can now go for this Earthquake right here and force them to throw an Earthquake against me, which will waste all of their energy. Not necessarily waste, because it'll take out my Quagsire, but I can easily now come in with Frostlass and load up on energy. We do need to watch out for Fire Punch, as it does do super effective damage, but thankfully it's not too much, as Diggersby is not a very offensive statted Pokemon, and the Fire Punch is not a same type attack bonus. Now we're going to go ahead and throw Avalanche here on 5, which is the Mudshot count for Fire Punch, as we do take down the Diggersby, and let's see what decides to come in. If it's the Gliscor, they're in trouble. Let's find out. It is the Gliscor. So they're going to go ahead and go for the charge move here. Night Slash does do super effective damage, so I'm going to go ahead and shield this first one and look to go for this Avalanche. If this gets the final shield from the opponent, the Camerupt should be able to sweep right here, and we do get the final shield. So now I'm going to force them to throw energy, because they have to throw the Night Slash in order to take us out. And now we're going to trust in Camerupt to sweep. We got rid of a Diggersby. We can do neutral damage. They did get an attack boost right here, which is perfectly fine. And we can now overload on energy. We're going to have to shield the Night Slash, as it would do a lot of neutral damage to us, especially with that attack boost. And now we're going to go ahead and go for Earth Power. This is resisted, but you don't want to go for overheat because it will lower our attack. But Earth Power is enough damage to take out Gliscor. And the final Pokemon is an Escavalier. Let's get it, Camerupt. We're going to go ahead and go for the overheat. And this is why Camerupt is so deadly. Boom. Takes out the Escavalier, and that's going to be a good game. All right, moving to the next one. Quagsire versus Escavalier on the lead. This is going to be kind of a tough one because ideally we want to have the Camerupt aligned to it, but this is also a good situation for us where we can try to get ourselves shield advantages like we have in every single game for these neutral matchups. Now they decide to go for the Drill Run, which is perfectly fine. Stone Edge here does neutral because of the Steel Bug typing, so we don't necessarily have to go for the Earthquake, and we got ourselves a shield right there. All right, we're going to go ahead and try to go for the next Stone Edge, and we do get to it in time, which is perfect. This is going to get the Escavalier very, very low, and they unfortunately will be able to farm us down. So now I have I'm going to come in with Camerupt. I have to shield basically either way, and I would rather get an Incinerate for free, that energy for free, without having to waste the turns because of the charge move. Now we do see a Marshtomp come in, so we're going to go ahead and go for Earth Power right here. Even though Marshtomp is a hard counter to Camerupt, Earth Power does a respectable amount of damage, and we do get a shield. So now we're going to swap out into Frostlass, and they blindly swap into their own Frostlass. And since we are ahead on energy and shields, we can safely go for the Shadow Ball to one-shot right here. This is going to be a good game. Boom! Down goes the Frostlass. In comes the Marshtomp, and this is going to be perfectly fine. We can safely no-shield this first one, as it is just going to be the Surf, and look to go for the Avalanche to close this game out. We will have to give up our final shield here, but that is okay. So Camerupt right there wasn't aligned correctly for us, right? We didn't have it on the Escavalier. We didn't have it on the Frostlass, but we were still able to put a lot of pressure down because of the damage from Earth Power. So we have Quagsire now on the lead versus Claydol. So a pretty decent matchup for us right here. And they decide to swap out into the Ferrothorn. So we're going to bring in that Camerupt right away and look to farm down. Now, what you'll typically see is if they safe swap something like an Abomasnow, an Escavalier, or a Ferrothorn, they might have double of that Steel Grass in the back, or the double weak to fire in the back, I should say. So now we're going to go ahead and let this next one go through. It's a Power Whip. Unfortunately, I thought it was going to be another Mirror Shot. But we do have the Claydol come in, so we can go ahead and go for the Earth Power here. And again, this just does so much neutral damage. 50% HP there. And unfortunately, we aren't able to get to another one in time. Now, we got to come in with our Quagsire and load up on energy and be very careful and very mindful that there could be another grass type in the back. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Earthquake right away, just trying to even out the shields. But they decide to let it go, and the final Pokemon is actually going to be a Nidoqueen. So they decide to surrender. Good game. All right, Quagsire versus Whiscash. Okay, another fantastic lead for us given our backline of the Camerupt. That's the whole purpose of this team, is to get rid of the Diggersby, to get rid of the Whiscash, to get rid of the Quagsire early, because most teams don't have two of them, and that way Camerupt has a lot better time. So we're going to go ahead and go for that Earthquake, and it did land. Now we don't need to fear a Blizzard right here, because even if they do throw the Blizzard, I can come in with Frostlass and load up on energy. This is a beautiful situation where I will lose lead, and if this is a Blizzard, which it is, boom, down goes the Quagsire. We come in with Frostlass and absolutely load up on energy. This is one of the last things you want to happen. If you are facing a Frostlass that is farming down for well over one charge move, you're going to be in trouble. So they do have two shields, and in comes a Diggersby. So we already have a Whiscash. We have a Diggersby now, and Camerupt is not going to care because we have a solid team built around it with Frostlass and Quagsire, where these avalanches are doing super effective damage, which means it's going to be forcing shields. And now this is going to be a very, very good situation for us because we can safely look to shield this Fire Punch and go for one more avalanche on CMP tie. This is going to force that final shield from them, and if it does, my goodness, unleash the Camerupt. So we can let this Fire Punch now go through. We're going to come in with that Camerupt right away if the Fire Punch doesn't KO, but it should, as it does do super effective damage. Final Pokemon is going to be a Gliscor, and this is perfectly fine. We can easily shield this charge move. Look to go for one extra Incinerate, because the only way Diggersby takes us out is going to be with the Earthquake as the charge move. Fire Punch is going to be resisted, so we go for the Overheat. Boom! Boom! Down goes the Gliscor. In comes the Diggersby. They have to get to an Earthquake, which they don't have enough time to get to because we now have access to Earth Power. And that is going to be a good game, very well played. Okay, moving into the next one. We have Quagsire on the lead versus Diggersby. Okay, very positive lead for us. Not necessarily positive in the fact that we dominate as a Quagsire versus it, but positive because it's on the field and we have Camerupt in the back. So we're still going for straight Earthquakes right here. You don't want to be shield baiting with Stone Edge as it would be resisted. So we're going to go ahead and let this go through because we want to get ourselves shield advantage. We want to take switch advantage. Now they decide to swap into Frostlass, so I'm going to try my best to get to the Stone Edge in time, but unfortunately this is a CMP tie. So this was a slight mistake on my end. I should have gone into Camerupt right away. So now we're behind, but ultimately we can come out ahead here with Camerupt because we can load up quite a bit of energy. And remember, the Diggersby has to throw an Earthquake in order to take us out. So we're going to go ahead and shield that Avalanche. We're going to go for the Earth Power right here, just because I don't think I would have to do 2 more Incinerates, and I think they might just be able to get to another Avalanche in time. And now Diggersby is coming in and is going to be forced to throw the Earthquake. So we're going to go ahead and let this go because I don't think it's going to be enough, and it wasn't. It was just a Fire Punch. So now this tells me they might be very, very weak in the back to a Camerupt as they do decide to shield. So I'm going to go ahead and swap out now into Frostlass, and sure enough, it's going to be an Escavalier in the back. This is a beautiful situation for us because I can safely go for 2 Shadow Balls since I'm so far ahead on energy, which is why Frostlass makes a really great safe swap in this meta, because when it gets ahead on energy, it is pretty hard to take down a Shadow Ball now. We'll be forcing the final shield of this game, and because we are ahead, we can get to another one in time. This just does so much raw neutral damage that the Escavalier won't be able to hang on. Boom! Down it goes, and in comes the Diggersby, which does have access to Fire Punch, but remember, it's from a Diggersby. It's not Stab, and it's not a high attack Pokemon, so we can easily survive and go for an Avalanche to close this game out. And so we noticed right there, when we saw the Diggersby shield, we knew that they must have been weak in the back, and sure enough, it was an Escavalier, so good game. All right, Quagsire now versus Magcargo. Very, very positive lead right here. This is what we love to see if you're on a Quagsire, and we do see a swap out in Frostlass, so we're going to bring in that Camerupt right away. And this is kind of a tough situation where we are once again slightly behind on energy, which is the advantage that Frostlass has when it comes in as a safe swap. So we're going to be forced to throw a charge move here because I want to get a shield from them, and if we do, we can now commit to the farm down. So we go ahead and get the shield defense dropped as well, which is going to allow our Incinerate to 2-tap instead of 3, which is beautiful. So now we can safely shield this next charge move. Because remember, if a Magcargo comes back in, it's a rock fire type Pokemon, which means it's extremely weak to our Earth Power, which means we get the final shield here from our opponents. So we're going to go ahead and throw that Earth Power to get shield number 2, and we do. And we're going to go ahead and try to get to another one, but unfortunately I don't in time. This is still a good situation for us because Rock Tomb does do neutral damage, but we can bring in the Quagsire right here and try to go for a charge move. Now they swap in Diggersby, which is perfectly fine. I can safely go for an Earthquake right here and then swap out into Frostlass. I need health on my Quagsire in order to win because we resist all of the moves coming from the Magcargo. So we can safely let these Fire Punches take us down. Now we're going to be very careful right here. We don't want Magcargo to get a lot of energy because that's how we lose this game. So we're going to let them go for double Fire Up Punches and just try our best to build up to 2 Avalanches. Granted, I'm 1 Powder Snow away, but that is okay because the Avalanche here will take it out. They can only get 1 Incinerate worth of damage against us because of letting the Fire Punches go through to get our health very low. And now we should be able to get to this Stone Edge in time. And Magcargo shouldn't be able to get to 2 Overheats because it wasn't able to load up on a lot of extra energy. So Overheat does do quite a bit of resisted damage, but we have the Stone Edge ready to go. So Quagsire is going to be taking this one. Boom. That's going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one, we have Quagsire versus Escavalier. All right, so this is tough because Escavalier on the lead, like we've seen before, there could be a lot of different options in the back, so we got to try to get ourselves shield advantage if we can. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Stone Edge as they do go for their first charge move. Now, I let this go through but it was a Mega Horn, and that does way more damage than a Stone Edge ever would. So now I'm gonna, Drill Run, I should say, ever would. I'm throwing the Stone Edge. We get a shield, so now I'm gonna swap into Frostlass to get ahead on energy, and this is where I make a critical mistake. Notice how they're not swapping out. This is a tell, and I didn't pick it up when I was battling because I let the Drill Run go through. This is a tell that they are weak in the back, or not weak in the back, they're strong in the back to Frostlass, because now Wizcat are not strong in the back. They could have double Mud Boys in the back to Frostlass because they want to stay in with the Escavalier and get us as low as possible, which was a good call by them. So we do get a final shield now. So Camerupt still has an opportunity to potentially sweep, and unfortunately for me, I have to let this charge move go through. So now I got to utilize my Quagsire, 2 shields, to try to protect this Camerupt. So that means we got to try to catch a charge move. Now, I try to swap right here to catch it, but unfortunately I don't get it, and they have a Marshtomp in the back. And I'm like, oh man, now I go for, I'm so frustrated. I go for Stone Edge right here just because I don't think I would have made it to Earthquake. Yeah, I would have gotten Mud Shot down. And now Camerupt is going to come in, and that Wiz Cash is loaded on energy. So what we have to try to do here is build up to, oh, this is gonna be so tough. I gotta throw the Earth Power now, but unfortunately for them, they get to another Surf. So I'm gonna be forced to shield right here, and this is now gonna be a close one because I can't get to 2 Earth Powers in time. I have to throw this. I can't load up 2. The energy is too high of a cost in order to have it because we only have 100 max energy. So now Wizcash is gonna come in, and that's gonna be a good battle unless we can survive Mud Bomb right here, which we don't. Boom, we go down. So double Mud Boy in the back is what took this team down right there. Good game. All right, moving next one, we got Quagsire versus Gliscor on the lead. Again, a nice neutral lead for us that we can get shield advantage because of that Stone Edge and look to come in and farm down with Frostlass, as we're going to safely let this first charge move go through, as it is just going to be a Night Slash. Now, we got to be very careful, obviously, about the boost. Gliscor is one of the deadliest Pokemon when it does get that boost, and we do get a shield early as well, which now is going to allow us to get to another Stone Edge in time because this Night Slash is not going to be enough to KO. And we need to be careful about potentially keeping our Quagsire alive for a sack swap like we've tried to do in a lot of these battles. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the Stone Edge here and now swap out into Frostlass since they did let it go through. And then I'm also going to risk it here, and I'm going to no-shield the Night Slash. It does do 50% HP, but they bring in an Escavalier, which is really nice for us because our Camerupt, if they decide to shield, should be able to farm down as we go for the Shadow Ball right here, but they let it go. And I'm like, you know what? This is Camerupt's game. This is absolutely Camerupt's game. I don't think they'll have a Wizcash in the back, but I could be wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Camerupt, farm down with 1 Incinerate, and let's see what they decide to bring in. They decide to bring in a Gliscor. Uh-oh! Someone is weak in the back. We're going to go ahead and give up 1 shield now to Night Slash, and let's see what that final Pokemon is. It's going to be a Lucario. Here we go. Incinerate is absolutely shredding, and we're not going to go for a charge move here because of the raw damage from Incinerate. This Power-Up Punch now. Oh man, it's got 1 HP. 1 Mud Shot should be able to take it. Yeah. Quagsire is able to take it right there. Good game! But ultimately, this team was so much fun. Quagsire, Camerupt, and Frostlass. I don't think anyone saw the Camerupt coming because it's just not a part of the meta. But honestly, I think it can be because of how many Pokemon that are running around that are extremely weak to Fire-type moves, whether that's like Escavalier for double weakness, Frostlass with single weakness, or even neutral damage to a lot of the meta. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.